5,500 pack downloads, which is just phenomenal and something we're all really, really proud of at the CIPP, because for us, National Payroll Week is about reaching as many payroll professionals as we can. It's about celebrating the profession. It's about being inclusive and accessible for all. And the fact that we had that many downloads of the packs from our website, I think means that we really, really did hit that objective.
Welcome to the Payroll Podcast with your host, Nick Day. Find out what it takes to truly discover what it takes to elevate your career within payroll as we meet with the industry leaders who are shaping the industry for tomorrow.
Hello and welcome back to the Payroll Podcast. My name is Nick Day, CEO at JGA Recruitment Group. And today I'm really excited because we're going to be talking about how we can really celebrate the payroll profession, because we're going to be talking all about National Payroll Week. Now, the person I've got on the show today to tell us all about it is, of course, Vickie Graham, who's Business Development Director at the Chartered Institute of Payroll Professionals, also known as the CIPP. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the CIPP, first I'll say, where on earth have you been? But just in case, the Chartered Institute of Payroll Professionals is the Chartered Institute for payroll, pensions and reward professionals in the UK. They've got over 9,500 individuals benefiting from the CIPP's membership benefits, support and education services. And the Institute is absolutely dedicated to raising the profile of payroll in businesses across not just the UK, but also international. So you know what? They've got exactly the same aims as we do here on the Payroll Podcast. Let's raise the profile of payroll. Let's celebrate the industry. And what better place to start than to talk about the CIPP's National Payroll Week 2022, which is taking place next week on the 5th of September. It runs from the 5th to the 9th of September, 2022, and I'm going to welcome Vickie to the show to tell us all about it. Vickie Graham, welcome to the Payroll Podcast. How are you feeling today?
Thanks, Nick. I'm feeling great. I'm really looking forward to National Payroll Week, and thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction.
My absolute pleasure. I am passionate about payroll. I'm passionate about National Payroll Week. The CIPP brought it to the masses. You got it started. For those not familiar, perhaps you've just found yourself in payroll this year for the first time. Perhaps you've been working in payroll for years and you never knew there was a week dedicated to celebrating the industry. For those individuals out there, perhaps who just want to find out how they can get involved, tell us all, what is National Payroll Week?
All right, thanks, Nick. So National Payroll Week was launched by the CIPP in 1998. So it's been running for quite some time now, and it is about exactly what you've just said, celebrating the role of payroll in the UK, celebrating the role that payroll plays within businesses towards business strategies, the role that payroll plays within the UK economy and the contribution that is made to the UK economy through the collection of income tax and national insurance contributions, and obviously the impact it then has on the economy as a whole. And it is the chance for payroll professionals to really, really showcase what it is that you do all year round to keep the UK paid, to keep employees coming into work, and to keep the economy moving. So it really is a true celebration of everything that you do, a chance for payroll professionals to shout about the role that they play and really, really raise the profile of payroll overall.
Fantastic. You know what? We all know over the last 12, 24 months with the pandemic has been what it's been. Not every payroll professional's had an opportunity yet to take a breath, just to relax, take a holiday even. So this is an opportunity for everyone to have a bit of a celebration, hopefully take a slight step back from the day-to-day and really celebrate the period that we've gone through, because it's been challenging. And actually, when you consider the payroll industry is paying 345 billion to the government through income tax and national insurance contributions, I absolutely think this is an industry that completely needs celebrating. But from your perspective, Vickie, tell us why you think it's absolutely so important that the payroll people that we have in the UK and beyond do take that moment to really celebrate their achievements.
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously, Nick, the reasons that you've just discussed, the last couple of years have been insane, for want of a better word.
Sure.
As you say, payroll professionals really haven't taken a breath. They haven't taken any time to rest for themselves, because they have been working so hard to keep the UK paid, particularly with the coronavirus job retention scheme. National Payroll Week's really important, not just because of that, not just because of the last couple of years. As I said, we launched this in 1998 because payroll is the heart of every business. It's the lifeblood of every business. It's the reason people get up every day and go to work, because they get paid. Yet it's often really, really overlooked. And I think the last couple of years, what we've seen, and certainly in my role, I get to talk to members, I get to talk to people in the payroll community all the time. In the last couple of years, payroll has either been realised as this really important function within a business. Employers have taken notice because of things like the job retention scheme. Or on the other side of the fence, payroll professionals have felt even more neglected because they've been doing even more work and not had that recognition. So National Payroll Week's really important to raise the profile for the CIPP, for us, and the partners and the sponsors that we work with, to make sure that we're talking to government officials, we're talking to members of parliament, we're talking to employers and organisations, we're talking to the media about the important role that payroll is playing. And you know, because you've been in the industry as long or longer than I have, and everyone listening to this podcast will know, that payroll is increasingly complex. It isn't just pushing a button, which people quite often think. It's increasing in complexity. It did so even more so over the last couple of years. There's potentially more changes coming in this year, depending upon the Tory leadership race that's currently ongoing at the time of recording. Obviously, we should be in a different position during National Payroll Week. You know, there's more things that are coming in, and it's making it more complex. So we need to make sure that we're talking about what it is that you do, that employers realise the value, that government officials realise the value, and that we put payroll on an equal footing as accountancy or finance or HR, that we make sure payroll has that seat and that voice at the table, whether that's the board table in your organisation or within consultation forums at government, where the CIPP represents the profession and provides that voice for you. And that is really important, so that people fully understand the role that payroll plays, and the fact that it isn't just pushing a button, it's the lifeblood of an organisation and of the UK economy.
If I had a mic, I'd drop it. I'd go, mic drop, done. It's the lifeblood of business. Couldn't put it better. I think finally, as you mentioned there, Vickie, businesses have started to realise this during the pandemic, as payroll departments have been able to deliver payrolls from all environments, working from home, utilising now cross-border payments, the ability to recruit global teams, whilst implementing new technologies, becoming more strategic, all of these things. I remember when I started in this profession 20 years ago this year, when payroll was often based in a windowless office, somewhere in the back room. No one really gave it the attention, or certainly the credence that it needed. No one really gave it the respect it deserved. And actually, over that 20 years, if we think about how far we've come, I think that's worth celebrating on its own. Finally, now we're seeing people at partner level within major accountancy firms. We're seeing people at directorship level, people having strategic roles at the board table, which we never saw or even dreamed of before. And I think everything you've said there is absolutely why it's important that we do celebrate, but also important that other people understand the important role that payroll people play in business, in the way that we keep things moving, and its impact on employment, its impact on retention, its impact on candidate attraction as we go through the Great Resignation or the Great Awakening, which we're seeing all the time from a recruitment perspective. I think you put that beautifully. And I'd like everyone listening to this, just take a moment, we'll pause just for 1 second and just consider the role that you have and the impact you've had on your own employees over the last 24 months in particular. Because without you doing the job you do, it's very possible that many of those businesses would have struggled and even potentially failed altogether if you did not put the commitment that you have done over the last 24 months in ensuring that the employees that are working within your payroll operation have continued to keep those employees paid within those businesses so they can continue to run effectively, profitably, and actually, as we come out of this, continue to grow. So I'm going to take a quick second, just pause. Perfect. And just tell yourself, well done. But more importantly, the CIPP are going to help you do that as well with National Payroll Week 2022. Before we jump into how you can do that, For those still not familiar with National Payroll Week, Vickie, tell us about some of the successes that 2021's National Payroll Week had. Because I believe it saw over 5,500 National Payroll Week packs get downloaded, and you had engagement rates at an all-time high. Tell me some of the things that happened in 2021.
Yeah, we did. I mean, as you say, Nick, 5,500 pack downloads, which is just phenomenal and something we're all really, really proud of at the CIPP, because for us, National Payroll Week is about reaching as many payroll professionals as we can. It's about celebrating the profession. It's about being inclusive and accessible for all. And the fact that we had that many downloads of the packs from our website, I think means that we really, really did hit that objective. During 2021, obviously, we were still in the throes of the COVID-19 pandemic, and therefore running our usual National Payroll Week activities and events was more challenging or not possible. So what we did was we moved all of our event program, which normally is a conference that takes place during a day on National Payroll Week. We kind of moved that program. We changed the way that we delivered that and the sessions that would normally go into that conference. And we provided payroll content across the entire National Payroll Week. We had roundtable discussions, we had panel debates, we had legislation updates and taster training courses. And in addition to the 5,500 downloads, we had around 3,000 people engage with those online seminars as well, which meant that we had the biggest participation in terms of our activities during that week than we've ever had before, which was just phenomenal and fantastic. And I think a testament to the profession now and everything that we had been going through at the time, the fact that everybody wanted to get involved and celebrate everything that had been achieved over the last kind of 12 and now 24 months.
Absolutely incredible. And what I really love about National Payroll Week as well is you don't just limit yourself to celebrating professional. Actually, it's also about advancing, taking this week to really advance the profession and also help those that perhaps have seen their well-being impacted by the amount of hours they've had to do to keep things running, making sure that well-being is understood and there are support networks in place to help those that need a helping hand now and again. But also you recognize that payroll professionals can also support their employees a little bit further as well, particularly right now when we know there is a bit of a cost of living crisis. Tell us a little bit about what National Payroll Week is doing to support payroll professionals who in turn can then support their employees through this crisis.
Yeah, so as you say, we're all aware there's a cost of living crisis. We're all aware that the rate of inflation is at a high. I think currently it's sitting at around 9.4%. And those that don't necessarily think of the bigger picture would then think, right, okay, maybe salaries should increase in line with the cost of living, but that's not always feasible. As a business, your prices don't necessarily go up 9.4%, and certainly your profit margins probably aren't either. So payroll professionals are in a really good position to advise those at board level or those decision makers within businesses about other things that they could be doing to support employees. So things such as salary sacrifice arrangement for pension contributions, certainly that's something that helps your employees in terms of saving. If they are contributing to a pension, introducing salary sacrifice makes sense because there's the tax savings that can be afforded there. Also things like flexible benefits platforms, introducing these so that employees can have savings on everyday expenditure. Supermarkets, retailers, where quite often you get a percentage discount through these benefits platforms. That's another initiative payroll could introduce. But there's other things as well, and maybe some things that not everybody has thought of, but certainly when I'm talking to our members at the CIPP, these are starting to gain traction. So things such as saving through payroll. Now, I previously mentioned salary sacrifice for pensions, but it could be, we've got a changing workforce. We've got younger people coming into work, into the working environment. They're not necessarily thinking about saving for retirement yet, or that's not their priority right now. So some organisations and members that I'm speaking to are introducing schemes such as workplace ISAs, where the organisation contributes what they would do to a workplace pension if someone is saving into that workplace ISA or savings scheme. So that benefits the employee financially without excluding them because they're not saving into a pension at that time because their priorities are different. And I think that's really important. And it's something that payroll's in a really unique position to advise on because of the data that you hold within your payroll systems. What does your workforce look like? Looking then at what their priorities are and introducing things that can help in terms of their current priority, in terms of saving money or helping benefiting them through employee contributions and saving in that way. And I think that's something that's really, really starting to take off and interesting in the market at the moment. Another one, and sometimes controversially so, and I've had a lot of conversations around this over the last couple of years, is introducing something like pay on demand or access to earned wages, whereby employees are able to draw down some of the money that they have earned already prior to payday, which will help them with incidental expenditure that may come up if they can't wait until their monthly payday per se. It allows them to have access to the money they have earned sooner. And it is something I've been talking about for a couple of years, and there is controversy around it, on both sides. It's controversial potentially that employers hold on to an employee's wage for a month until it's paid. It's also something that employers feel quite strongly about in terms of giving access to money before the payday in case it's causing, debt, long-term debt, or a cycle of debt within an employee's life. So financial awareness then becomes potentially part of a payroll professional's remit. And I think that is something that is quite important and another added value or strategic string to the payroll professional's bow as well.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, not everyone is going to agree with it yet, but we've got to continue to advance the profession, and we've got to understand that these technologies, these things are happening in other countries already, sometimes successfully, sometimes still in testing cases, and we've got to look for ways to continually advance the profession. If that is pay on demand, or if it's something else, let's embrace it, see how it runs, and try and get over any obstacles that may be in our way, particularly if it can help employees with this cost of living crisis, so employees manage their money better and more efficiently. If it means reducing the opportunities for them to take on bad loans and things like that, then I'm all for it. But we need some further thought than that. It's certainly coming into the industry, and we're seeing more and more of it at the moment. And there's some other payroll podcasts that talk about that in a lot more detail.
Have you ever asked yourself, how can I recruit payroll staff effectively? Please don't give up on your recruitment project just yet. Here at JGA Payroll Recruitment, we appreciate the difficulties associated with attracting, recruiting and retaining top payroll talent. We also understand just how costly a poor payroll hire can be. JGA Recruitment are a niche payroll recruitment agency who will partner with you to resource payroll candidates who will improve both the accuracy and efficiency of your payroll department. Contact us today on 01727 800 377 or visit jgarecruitment.com to find out more.
At the moment, Vickie, what are the current challenges then that you're seeing payroll departments going through currently, and perhaps what they've been through, that means that, this is a good opportunity for them to take a step back and celebrate what they've done, because they've been through quite a lot. They've been put through the mill a little bit over the last few months, shall we say?
Yeah, absolutely they have. I mean, certainly the coronavirus job retention scheme and the pandemic has been a challenge, hopefully one that we are coming out of and have seen the back of, but that has been a challenge. It may continue to be so. A lot, the government did pay out a lot through the coronavirus job retention scheme and is obviously looking to get some of that money back. So I'm seeing, and the industry is seeing, audits on furlough payments, which I think is going to be a challenge for payroll departments, going through that process. It's timely. I'm sure that payroll professionals and certainly members done everything they can to make sure that they were compliant and are compliant. But still going through that audit process, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time to prepare and do that. So that is a challenge. More broadly speaking, and in line with our Future of Payroll survey, which we do for National Payroll Week, and we'll be talking about from the 5th of September, some of the current challenges, and you talked about this earlier, Nick, are things like the Great Resignation. Payroll professionals, I mentioned earlier, some have been praised, some have really risen to the top of the spotlight in terms of their organisation recognising what they've done. Others, unfortunately, didn't have that experience during COVID. And as a result, they've kind of looked at whether it's an organization that they want to stay with. And we're seeing a lot of movement. So recruitment, retention is a massive challenge at the moment, whether that's in-house payroll or whether that's service providers. And I think specifically if we talk about service providers, they have an increased challenge there, because where they are losing talent, where they are losing people who are experienced to potentially other service providers, there's a bit of I've certainly seen bit of a battle in terms of salaries. So salaries have been pushed up, and not everyone can necessarily stretch to pay the salaries that are being demanded now to attract that talent. And I think that's quite an interesting and exciting development, and something to watch that's going on there. Attracting talent, as I've said, we're losing, or not we, in terms of an industry, is losing talent into other businesses. People have reevaluated, reassessed, and they're moving. Organizations are then finding it hard to bring people in with the same level of experience. Payroll, as I mentioned, is increasingly complex. It's growing in complexities. It's constantly changing. And therefore, organizations tend to advertise for experienced payroll professionals and are struggling to attract that talent at the moment. So I think that's a challenge that needs to be overcome. And perhaps organizations need to consider what experience is required. Do they actually look to recruit new professionals into the industry and train them within the organization, as opposed to trying to attract already experienced payroll professionals who they might be outpriced or outbid on in terms of salaries elsewhere, or who may be very happy within their organizations because they were treated very well during the pandemic. So I think those are some of the key challenges that are happening at the moment.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Obviously, it's a market I know very well. We've termed it kind of the Great Awakening rather than the Great Resignation, because I think what's ultimately happened is payroll professionals in particular, and HR professionals, they've realized that they can potentially improve their lives and their salaries in some instances if they are to change employers, if they're not happy with the way that they're currently being managed. And as a result of that, clients have had to wake up. Companies have had to reassess what they're reevaluate what they're offering and how they're rewarding their payroll staff, and whether the salaries are reflective of the responsibilities they now have. Because let's be honest, the payroll professional has advanced, or the payroll profession has advanced significantly. So you've got to address that with increased salaries and increased remuneration packages and holistic packages that reflect that. And I think that if they don't, then payroll professionals are absolutely voting with their feet, and they're moving employers, because talent is in demand and there are opportunities for them to do so. I think the other big shift we've seen, of course, is that payroll professionals have proven they can deliver payrolls from remote working environments. So for those that aren't supplying it, of course, then again, well, maybe they've got used to that environment. Maybe that's a work-life balance they want to maintain. Therefore, they're looking for employers that can provide that. What I would say, though, you mentioned people are struggling to replace talent. I would always say to employers, never try to replace talent. Try and look at it in that sort of like for like basis. Try and look at all the things with the person that's going out. What are the things now? This is an opportunity for you to re-recruit, reassess what it is you need in that operation. What perhaps are the elements that individual leaving didn't demonstrate that actually you'd want to find in your next employee. So rather than replace, try and evolve the role a little bit to find out exactly what you need in that payroll operation to make it tick that little bit more efficiently. It may need a higher salary. It may need another look or a refresh at the kind of benefits that are being offered or the flexibility that's being provided. But the talent is out there if you look in the right places. Of course, there are agencies like ourselves that know exactly where to find that talent. But whether you're struggling or whether you're not, I do think it needs a reflective approach. Why is that individual leaving in the first place? Don't always try and replace like for like. Actually, this is an opportunity for all employers and payroll managers listening to this to go, okay, I can't do anything about this individual leaving. What I can do is really assess what I need in my department to take it to the next level. We've now identified, in conjunction with the CIPP, over 60 different career payroll pathways. So people are looking for different challenges in payroll now. People do want to take their career in different payroll directions. So it's really important when you're hiring, that you're taking people on that are motivated by the direction that you can offer them in your opportunity. So that's something else to also consider when you're reevaluating the positions that you're recruiting for. I think it's a hugely exciting time because all of this work, this great awakening, it's forcing companies to reconsider payroll and its importance, because if they don't, they can't attract the best staff, which means they can't run the payroll as efficiently and as optimally as they would like to. They can't evolve it. So salaries do have to change. Salaries do have to improve. The role of payroll professional has to be seen differently internally and externally. And all of that will contribute to raising the profile of the profession as a whole. So it's huge for me. It's hugely exciting. Of course, it means we're very, very busy as recruiters as well. There are solutions out there. And I think it's a really, really exciting opportunity for companies to really reevaluate what it is they need in that next hire and how best to find it. And I think it's really, really exciting. And National Payroll Week is a great time to celebrate some of those changes and to celebrate how payroll now has really been thrust into the limelight as a real strategically important business operation. I don't think that's always been the case certainly over the 20 years that I've been in the profession.
I couldn't agree more, Nick. And I think, we've both been in the profession for about the same time. I haven't seen as much and as rapid change as I have in the last kind of 12 to 24 months.
No, I couldn't agree more. It's been a phenomenal change and such a sea change and rapid shift. And we're seeing it not just in people moving, we're seeing huge shifts in the speed of technology changing as well. The amount now that we can automate, the things that technology can now do for the payroll profession that it couldn't do even 3 years ago. We're seeing so many advancements that I think it's hugely exciting. I think payroll now is much more recognized externally for those that perhaps didn't even know what payroll people did 5 years ago. Now people have a much better understanding. When you've got prime ministers, like Scott in Australia, coming out and praising the profession publicly, these kind of things really do help thrust payroll into the limelight for everyone globally. And I think that's amazing. And it's such an exciting time to be coming into payroll. And I'm hoping that all of us through these podcasts, through the CIPP's National Payroll Week, and through all the things that the CIPP are doing and others are doing as well, we can continue to encourage new people into the profession. Wow, what an industry we're going to have a few years from now. Hugely exciting. So, Vickie, tell me a little bit then, just before we finish today, why do you think it's so important that the industry, if they haven't considered it yet, perhaps they're a payroll manager listening to this, they know about National Payroll Week, but they haven't yet really thought about whether or not they should get involved in celebrating its achievements. What would you say to them?
Obviously, I'd say just do it. Get involved. Visit the website. Download your National Payroll Week pack. Look for some inspiration in there in terms of what you can do. Host a coffee morning within your organization and explain your payslip to employees. Don't assume that established employees necessarily understand everything that's on their payslip, because quite often they don't, but no one is brave enough to actually say that. So, do some sessions around understanding your payslip. Start to look at the data that you've got in your payroll system and think about what you could be doing differently, and really, raise your voice within your organization. Talk to your line manager, talk to your SLT or your board about some ideas that you've got that are payroll led, some initiatives that you could introduce that are payroll led, that's going to either improve efficiencies or save the organization money or improve morale and motivation and, very importantly, employee well-being. So definitely get involved and do things like that. We've got lots of tools on the website and the National Payroll Week packs to help you and support you with that.
Absolutely right. And of course, you can share this episode of the Payroll Podcast, not just with your payroll colleagues, share it with your friends and family. Let them listen to it. It's short, it's sweet, and it'll tell them all about exactly why the role that you do in payroll is so critically important. Let's share the love for payroll. Let other people into your world of payroll, because it is complex, it is strategic, it is challenging, but it's also hugely rewarding and it needs to be celebrated. So don't be afraid to share, subscribe, and do whatever you can with this show and others so that everyone really does start to come together to support this industry, which is really a fantastic, exciting, fast-forwarding, moving, rapidly growing function. And I think it's really exciting to be involved in such an exciting week. I'm going to just drop back slightly as well to mention some of the challenges we talked about salaries. For those interested, on our JJ Recruitment Group website, we have updated our payroll title salary benchmarking tool. So if you work in payroll and you want to have an idea of what either you are worth or your team are worth, or what it costs to in terms of salaries to hire for your teams, check that out. It's been fully updated to take into consideration the recent salary increases following the Great Resignation. So it should be pretty accurate. It's based on all the data that we take in from jobs that we secure across the UK. It's just been updated. So do check that out on our website as well if you can. So my last question is this, Vickie, and I've got to ask it. What can we do to make National Payroll Week 2022 the biggest year yet?
Oh, there's lots. Get involved, download a pack, join the events online, participate in those, and run your own events within your organisation. And in the meantime, CIPP will be working as hard as we can behind the scenes with government, with our new Prime Minister, to try and really raise the bar and raise the profile and get as much exposure of payroll and of what you do as we possibly can.
Fantastic. And of course, if you're not sure where to go to get those packs, just go straight to the show notes of this episode. There's a link that goes directly through to National Payroll Week 2022. Or if you haven't got a chance and you're listening to this on the move, then remember the website's www.cipp.org.uk, and you can then just navigate to the events page, and there's a page specifically all about National Payroll Week. On there, you'll find out about their free events, how you can download the packs, what's going on, and more. So do please visit that site. And of course, if you are someone who is struggling to recruit, you've been impacted by the Great Resignation or the Great Awakening, and you need support recruiting for your teams, then please do give me a call or any of my wonderful team at JJ Recruitment. We are here to support you. Talent is not in short supply if you know where to find it, and we can work with you to create an employee value proposition that really does attract staff to your business, regardless of what constraints you may have when it comes to salary or benefits or location. We're there to work with you consultatively to help you find that payroll talent. So do give us a call. You can find us at jgarecruitment.com, and our contact details are also locatable in the show notes. So just leaves me to say a huge thank you to Vickie Graham for joining me today on this special episode of the Payroll Podcast. Let's celebrate National Payroll Week as a community, as an industry. Let's give a big hoo-yah to the profession, and I look forward to celebrating it all with you from the 5th to the 9th of September. Thank you, Vickie, ever so much for joining me today.
Oh, thanks, Nick. It has been a pleasure as always. Your enthusiasm and passion for payroll is brilliant, and we need all of that during National Payroll Week. So thank you, and thank you for your support.
My pleasure. We'll do it together. Fantastic. Thanks, everyone. I'll bring you the next episode real soon. Take care.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Payroll Podcast with Nick Day of JGA Recruitment. If you need help with a current payroll vacancy, then please get in touch with Nick and his team. All contact details can be found in the episode notes. In the meantime, to make sure you never miss a future episode, please subscribe to the show through any of your favorite podcast channels. Till next time.